No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. No one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. These are a few lines by a poem called Home by Warsan Shire, a 20-year-old Somali poet living in London. And I discovered this poem in the comment section of our online platform as a response to an idea from India. And I think this pretty much already sums up why we're doing this challenge, why we started the Refugee Challenge, which is a collaboration of what design can do. Let me see if I'm here right. Yes, I need to have the big logo with the brand names of our partners in there. Refugee Challenge, a close collaboration of what design can do. The Refugee Agency of UN, UNHCR, and IKEA Foundation. Now, in about 20 minutes, the winners of this challenge will be announced by our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bert Koenders. And before we do that, I want to kind of take you on the journey we embarked upon more than a year ago when we started thinking about this challenge. And my challenge for today is a bit to take you on this long journey in a period of about 7 minutes. Because our Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is here, has a very strict schedule. He needs to leave the stage at 5:30 precise. I try not to haste, but it will be some up-tempo, maybe resembling the roller coaster ride we had the last couple of months. So first of all, let me say that when we started this challenge, we did so by establishing a few guiding principles. One is that the challenge must be global for two reasons. What Design Can Do has always been an international-oriented organization celebrating and advocating the power of design, but it's also a global issue. The second guiding principle, which doesn't help us really much because it makes the scope even bigger, it must be a multidisciplinary challenge. We don't want to speak to one specific discipline, architects, digital designers, fashion designers. We need to find an idea, a question that will appeal to all. Third is that we think this must be an open challenge, and open in the sense open for everybody, also not creatives, all ages, all countries, but also open in the sense that it will be transparent, not a black box in which you enter and then after a few months the experts take out the best idea. So it must be open. The other guiding principles is that we do not believe that the designer is a magician with a magic stick that will come up with solutions all by themselves. So we really foster collaboration, and that's why we also chose the challenge in the form that it is. Another one is that this challenge must be inclusive. The sense that we are doing it for them is not appropriate. So the ideas we're looking for are ideas that really involve refugees in the whole process. Last but not least, it's okay to be bold. We can't pussyfoot around this issue and be very, very modest. We have a modest budget and we need to reach a global audience. So probably this morning Richard showed you the video that we launched the challenge with, a few images that we used along the lines for this challenge. A clear call for bold ideas, but it's not only that we advertised or promoted. We really used our blog, our channels, our media to tell stories, to share great refugee stories or important refugee stories, key thinkers, and best practices we found along the way. Now, this is, we can't only work with media. So what we did right from the start, when we launched this challenge, we organized a lot of workshops in Zurich, in Istanbul, this is the first one in Zurich, In Istanbul, we did 2 big workshops, which was really co-creation workshop, or let's say rapid ideation workshop, resulting in really in entries. And this was actually a workshop in Stockholm on the last day of the open call, involving 50 people, and it was a 12-hour workshop in which all the participants visited a big asylum center in the center of Stockholm. Very short something about this challenge process. 7 stages of this process, and the one that I really want to just to point out is that we are now in the middle. We are in a nominate phase. Yes, we will announce the 5 winners, but it's not finished by then. We'll really do everything we can to bring those mostly rough ideas into viable and scalable products, services, or programs. The brief. So this is a difficult question because it's such a huge problem. What is your scope? Earlier today, our research agency, we worked together with design researchers from Standby. We worked very close together on the brief. We had one starting point, which is our focus would be on urban refugees, not on camps, but really on urban refugees, because 60% of the 20 million refugees today are residing in urban environments, urban areas, and this number is really expected to rise. So beside very extensive desk research, we also did field research. We run a huge workshop in Amsterdam involving refugees, local authorities, NGOs, local communities, to really grasp what were the biggest pain points and challenges. So our let's say, overarching question is, what can design do to improve the reception and integration of refugees? Now, what we did is that we studied the refugee journey and upon arrival in a new town. We mapped it out and looked at all the obstacles and opportunities along the way. And we formulated on basis of that 5 briefs. One is what design can do to improve shelters and reception centers. Second, how can we foster personal development while waiting for asylum? It was very important, something we discovered. It's the big waiting game. Waiting is the biggest killer in the process. How can we develop people at the same time? How can we bring refugees and host communities closer? Obviously all about integration and framing. And how can we exchange essential information with refugees who know nothing about the country, the asylum procedure, can't communicate what they are looking for. And the last, how can we maximize the potential of refugees? And you see this is also mapped on this journey, on this route. This brief and all the background we collected, our research was put in a starter's kit for participants, a quite extensive 50-page document that you could download, which really would immerse you in all our findings. You get started with this challenge. Now, the response, what we hoped for was about really 300 entries, and we were very, very happy. And as you know by now, probably, is that the response was quite massive. One of the things that we asked everybody who submitted is send us a video, short video introducing yourself, and I think this really clearly shows it. Entries came from all the corners of the world, and to be precise, those are the countries. ...631 entries from 70 countries. However, we did fire our PR manager because he didn't reach Greenland. This is also nice to see is that those are the entries per field, most of them designers and a lot of design students, but also, yeah, this is a bit weird category, other, but predominantly designers and design students from all disciplines. We run this on the whole challenge on an online platform. It was UNHCR's ideas platform, and the good thing about that, it already had a very lively community of very involved humanitarians, and we added to that community the design community of designers of various disciplines. And Well, for me, this was the biggest discovery. We kind of organized a lot of experts to give comment because they're afraid that it was not a lively community. We were really very wrong. This is, by the way, again, exactly the quote, one of the discovery I found in a comment to a app proposal from an Indian team. This is another one which is currently on the short list, and you see that also really Muslims and refugees got involved. There are a lot of refugees part of the community of UNHCR, and also we build a quite good relationship. So everybody is very much involved in giving the entrants advice to improve their ideas and re-enter them so they can be better. Yes, this is, and it was also great. At a certain point, all the entrants themselves started really social media to promote their ideas. You know, weird ideas or even making offs of their video were put on social media. And this was also kind of a nice category. This is people organizing their own workshops and then communicating that. So the shortlist, I don't know if you've seen the exhibition here. We have established a shortlist, which was a big task, how to judge 631 entries in maybe 10 days' time. We had to upscale our team of experts. 40 people looked at it and established a shortlist of 25. Everything was done obviously online, but also a physical meeting in Amsterdam, though half of the team was via Skype, via different countries connected to our online meeting. So, those are the 25 shortlisted ideas that we'll soon announce the 5 winners of. And this is the exhibition you saw downstairs. And the funny thing or the nice thing I think about this exhibition, we offer this whole exhibition. It's a DIY exhibition. You can download from our website posters on A0 format and print your own poster if you're a shortlist nominee, or just organize your own exhibition with it. And then 2 days ago, on Wednesday, the 29th of June, the international jury came together and with one simple task, select 5 winners. So here, I want to invite, I'm okay in time? Oh, I'm not, I have to speed up. So I have to invite now on the jury, the chairman of the jury. No, Koenders, okay, that was my big challenge. I'm afraid I'm failing with this. So we're not going into details about reading. Okay. Trust, everybody was thinking very well. It was a great jury. But now, the big moment. Didn't you? Okay. So here to announce the 5 winners is our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bert Koenders. Please, Mr. Koenders.
Dank u wel. Hoe is het? Dank u wel.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a great opportunity to be here today. Thank you very much for all the great ideas that I just heard. It's wonderful to be here. Unfortunately, I'm only there at the end. But let me first say that I'd like to thank all of you and all the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share with you some ideas about what design can do in my field of work, foreign relations and diplomacy. But let me start with the bare facts, and let me make no mistake, let you make no mistake, and me no mistake. Nor diplomacy, nor design can solve the gigantic humanitarian and political challenge in front of us. In the time that I have been in politics, I've not seen so many violations of human rights, such a lack of protection of civilians, such a large flow of people fleeing conflict, power, and identity politics and terror. More than ever, we all are obliged, as human beings here together, I hope as creators, to see what is going on, to understand it, to build alliances, and to confront this huge challenge. And I see this, like you, and I saw that in the magnificent ideas that came forward, as a key priority for my work. Before I was a minister, I worked with refugees in Western Africa. And I saw how important it is to see them as a subject, not as an object. As people who live, who have a life, who make a travel, who flee terror, who can be hungry, who can have a future, who are all individuals. I think that's extremely important. Whatever we do in the world of creation, or of diplomacy for that matter, is to realize that. And I hope myself, when I'm now working as foreign minister, that I can use that inspiration to change the world in a direction that is transformative. Because let's make no mistake, as I said, I don't think for many years there have been so many refugees in the world, over 60 million. And we see also all over the world how refugees can be magnificently received. We see people in host communities living up to give friendship, to be creative with the other. But we see also the other side, of course. The fear, the xenophobia for the people who take jobs, for the people who flee terror and maybe bring the terror to the countries that they are fleeing to. So we're talking about an enormous challenge. A challenge that I'm very happy to be working on with you today. And it's a challenge in which design and diplomacy, I think, can be related. Of course, diplomacy is an old term, but strangely enough, we do need it again. Not the diplomacy of a glass of wine and chatting about power politics. But we live in a world where we have to make our opinions clear, strong, especially against injustice. But the world has become a little bit of a shouting match. I think some of you were talking about that. I heard that a little bit in the corridor. As if there is no diplomacy anymore, no resolution for conflict, no place for refugees, no place for the other. So in the end, the old world of diplomacy in that sense has to be innovated and find the work of design. Now, in past centuries, as you know, we built lavish receptions, costumes, artworks, dance. They were featured at feasts and functions to dazzle the spectator. That was the time in which emperors and kings used design to display their wealth and power. Also in this country. At the height of Dutch supremacy over the world economy, the citizens of Amsterdam built a town hall of such magnificence that it was converted into a royal palace when the Dutch monarchy was established 150 years later. You can find all these echoes of extravagance and beauty in this city. And now we see transformative also that we are trying to boast ourselves also with sometimes beautiful design. You can have your own views on this. The Sochi Winter Olympics and the 22 World Cup football championships in Qatar come to mind. You see nations using design as a trademark to great effect. For instance, Miro's sun image for Spain, Niemeyer's buildings as the Brazilian icons. And speaking for my own country, the Netherlands takes great pride in our contemporary design. It goes to show that good design can be beautiful or not, depends on the taste, but it can also transcend boundaries and speak to all nations. It can make life better. So that's why I applaud the organizers of today's event who came up with the Refugee Challenge, an initiative to pair design with one of today's most difficult problems, the refugee crisis. That crisis was the forefront of our work. We just ended in the Netherlands the presidency of the European Union. And harnessing our work with morality and humanity and harnessing the power of culture can be part of an effective response. And design can be a catalyst for new ideas and innovative solutions, and we need them, because somehow the present ideas do not lead to the humane answers that we want. We're working on many areas in the Dutch government on this, and it's too late in the afternoon. I have a whole list of how we work with dance, film, musical, theater, in many areas, including the refugee crisis. But for instance, also in one of the areas that you were talking about just now, the relationship between refugees and urbanization. New methods of transport, various ways of making sure that the public goods we all need, purifying water, cheaper energy, recycling waste, that we do that in a way that goes together with design. Let me give you the example. The Nigerian designer and architect, of course, you know him, Kunle Adeyemi, who's lived here in the Netherlands since he was young. You've probably met him since he addressed a conference yesterday. He is concerned about flooding that's afflicting the city of Lagos in Nigeria. Increased flooding caused by climate change is preventing many children from going to school. And his prototype of a floating school won a prize this year at the Venice Architecture Biennale. We have Israeli architect Malkit Shoshan, who I was pleased to meet in the United Nations a few weeks ago, and who has an exhibition in the Dutch pavilion in Venice. It shows how military bases built for United Nations peacekeeping missions can be catalysts for local development. And you know that is very important. I was head of a peacekeeping missions, of 2 actually, and if you look to the way we are being organized as peacekeepers, it's very inward-looking. It's a building nobody wants to enter, as if we are planted in a foreign country to make peace, as if there are no local people, as if the type of design and architecture cannot actually help to interact in very difficult situations. In a case study of Camp Castor in Gao, Mali, Mrs. Shoshan explores ways of doing things differently. She argues, correctly, for more interaction with the local population and believes that United Nations peace missions should think about what they leave behind when they pull out. And I've urged her to present her views in New York at the United Nations headquarters. And the Dutch approach, as we sometimes slightly arrogantly call it, to UN peace missions is based on 3 Ds. Yes, defense and security for people, diplomacy, mediation in conflict, but also development. And this innovative proposal introduced a 4th D for design. And rightfully so, because design has a pivotal role to play. In recent years, the number of people affected by crises has grown, while budgets for humanitarian aid have not kept pace. And the traditional approach is no longer an adequate response to the growing need. And innovation in the humanitarian relief system is an essential part of the answer. And there I plead for what I saw here, interdisciplinary work, cooperation. That's why it's so good to be here by an event hosted by the public and the private sector, by UNHCR and the IKEA Foundation. And it's also important, I've worked many years for the United Nations, you need people from outside. We tend to be bureaucracies, inward-looking, rules, regulations, policy mixes that we put on countries rather than the other way around. And this is where not only you can come in, but actually the whole creative sector. Humanitarian camps have some characteristics in common with large-scale events that host tens of thousands of visitors. So new concepts in waste-to-energy conversion, communication, energy consumption, shelter and security can be tested for user-friendliness and suitabilities. These are only a few examples. I can name many others. But I think it's also a role of governments. And also of my own ministry, in the Ministry of Education, Culture and Science, to develop a fresh vision of international cultural policy. And that new policy points to the connectivity that culture can play. We want to create more space for culture to contribute to a safe, just and forward-looking world. And we need that. Security and stability are under tremendous pressure at the moment. Human life is at the moment more in conflict than it is in cooperation. We were talking about identity conflict. We were talking about migration, how these two can be mixed together in a poisonous mix. And it's getting harder to have an open dialogue about cultural differences. And sometimes the conversation leads to cultural confrontation. This is both the cause and effect of diminishing social cohesion, growing inequity, intolerance and distrust. Now, of course, nobody can solve that by him or herself. Artists and creatives cannot solve these problems. But I think the responsibility is large, and if we work together, we can do a world to change. And it's crucial to understand that when we're talking about refugees, or about development, or about peace, that the initiatives are local. And with local, I don't mean that it has to be small, or in a small part of the world. It means that the people we're working with are the subject. Take the Senegalese hip-hop group Jean Amar. There are young writers and rappers calling for social change. Their name describes their mission. It means fed up. They rap about democracy and civil rights and reach a large audience online, on stage, on the radio. They inspired 300,000 Senegalese young people to register to vote. They remind people of their responsibility. They are spurring their actions in Senegal and across Africa. They received last year here a prize of the Prince Claus Foundation, the same palace that the people of Amsterdam, as I said, built for the greater good and glory of their city. And as part of our new intercultural and international cultural policy, I want to facilitate these initiatives that contribute to social change and that can go from local festivals to many hot broths of creativity that leads also to the help in the solving of global public goods. We pitch together business plans for creative concepts aimed at tackling local challenges like waste processing and housing for refugees. The Dutch designer Erik Klarenbeek was a member of the jury, and Doreen Toutikian, the director of Beirut Design Week, is now in the jury here in Amsterdam. Another example of the connective role also we can play in culture. Now, we need all of us, all of you, to use your imagination and to use your inventiveness to help us meet the great challenges of our time. Whether it's the refugee crisis, increased urbanization, or the effects of climate change. We must have the will to make a difference and to create real changes in the world and in the daily lives of very ordinary people. Changes that will ultimately lead to a more stable, secure, and sustainable world. And with that thought in mind, I'd like to see a long-term partnership between your world and mine, between design and diplomacy. And as a symbol of that partnership, I think the moment has come with all of you to announce the winners of the Refugee Challenge.
Thank you. Please come forward. Okay, so here to assist Mr. Koenders, we have our main partners for this challenge, Corinne Gray, co-lead of United Nations UNHCR Innovation Unit, and Jonathan Spampinato. Please come here. Jonathan Spampinato, who is head of strategic planning and yes, marketing of IKEA Foundation. You have yellow envelopes. It means you have the winners. Corinne, can I ask you first? Could you be so nice as to give Mr. Koenders the first envelope?
Gladly.
Thank you. This solution considers not only the social issue, but also urban, environmental, and economic factors. The jury welcomed the project and its utopian thinking, preferring this as a model than all too familiar dystopias. Can I mention who the winner is?
Yes, please do. Don't keep us in tension.
Okay. The winner is Agri Shelter. Agri Shelter encourages
Great, so this is an entry from Italy by an Iranian from Italy. She can't be present, she has only a short message to say.
Hello, I'm Nargis, and I'm really happy to be chosen as one of the winners of the Refugee Challenge. This really means a lot to me, and I want to thank the jury for giving me this chance.
Woo. Okay, Jonathan, now it's up to you. Winner number two.
This project has great potential, giving refugees access to vital information, public facilities, and all kinds of offers. The jury would want to encourage the next stage of development with a relevant civic authority to make this project reality. The winner is Welcome Card. Woo!
This entry came from Sweden on the last day of the challenge. In that workshop, it was created and then further developed. So here's a short video of the entrance.
We started this journey listening to the people directly affected by the challenge and came up with a concept that we hope would alleviate some of the struggles. We're extremely happy to be given the expert backing and the opportunity to make it a reality. My name is Veronica and I come from Italy. Together with my team, I want to thank you for the generous support.
Great. Okay, Corinne, winner number 3. It's your turn.
Dank u wel. This idea, conceived by a multidisciplinary team, taps into an age-old way of getting to know each other and gain intercultural trust. The jury loved the subtlety and scalability of the concept, and also the fact that it will engage all ages and may encourage the participation of women. The winner is Eat and Meat.
Woo! Oh, so those winners couldn't make it on time, so they sent us a video message. From Brazil. Okay, and then the 4th winner.
Number 4.
This project offers the first steps for refugees to regain dignity, to connect with locals, to build new networks, and to restart their lives. The jury was impressed by the idea of using co-creation and by the dedication of the team. The winner is Makers Unite.
Woo! Well, well, the winner seems to come from Holland, so they are here. Makes United. Give him a big applause. Yeah. Picture.
Congratulations.
Picture moment, guys.
Congratulations. Great job.
Yes?
Congratulations. Great job.
We moeten even in het licht, want anders staat u er niet goed op. U staat er altijd goed op natuurlijk, wat zeg ik.
Yeah, that's great.
U staat er dan nog beter op.
Okay, here's your shot.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, short. Keep it short, please.
I don't know if everyone can hear, but I would like you to join our movement of makers with a united voice for integration. This is what design can do.
Thank you. Great. Woo! Give him a big applause.
Hartstikke goed, jongen. Geweldig, dankjewel hè. Hey, heel veel succes, dank je.
And now, the last winner. There's no order, but this is the last one. Number 5. Corinne? Yes.
The jury believes that this concept is very powerful and taps into a huge demand. It may be challenging to achieve and do well, but definitely is worth prototyping. The winner is Reframe Refugees.
Over here. Yes, and those entrants also come from the Netherlands, so they're live here.
Congratulations.
Gefeliciteerd.
Congrats. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Gefeliciteerd,
The
fantastisch.
check.
Hey, hartstikke goed, gefeliciteerd man.
Photo moment, everybody.
Dit is, ik denk dat dit de prijs is. Maar hij is voor jullie hè? Dus,
Thank you very much. So, this concludes the winners. Give all the winners and Mr. Koenders a big, big applause.
Thanks for joining us. It was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please stay here. So, of course, as I said in the beginning, this is a great moment. Our years of work is coming to an end, but the next step is now ahead of us, which is really bringing these ideas, which are in the rough sketches, the hard work starts. So, first of all, what's your feeling about this? You partnered with us from the start, looking at the shortlist, looking at the winners. What's your just basic feeling about it?
Yeah, excitement and optimism. It's really great ideas, a lot of participation. I particularly enjoyed that there was a little bit of debate about how appropriate this is because of the seriousness of the topic, and we agree it is a very serious issue. But from our perspective, that's why more people need to be involved. So the people I've met, the ideas we've seen throughout the past year have been fantastic, and now for the next 6 months, we really get to start moving and turning to the next gear.
And Corinne, so you are from an organization where a lot of people with boots on the ground,
Yes.
not academics, but really working on the ground with refugees. What is your pledge, or what way will you be involved in the upcoming phase of bringing those ideas further?
Definitely our next steps for the winners would be to really serve in an advisory capacity. You know, innovating for a group such as refugee communities and forcibly displaced people means really understanding the context and understanding a lot of the complexities. So our role would really be assisting with that and really helping them to understand what's feasible and what might not be feasible.
All right. And Jonathan, you
Sure.
from your end,
Yeah.
what would you want to do as a next step?
So next step, the IKEA Foundation, partly the next step took place tonight, is we'll be providing the funding for accelerator stipends so that each group gets 10,000 euros, not as a prize purse, but as a budget for turning their idea into something more tangible, the next step. And IKEA will also work with the winning teams, take them up to Älmhult, Sweden, which is kind of our Geneva at IKEA. And they will get some intensive coaching and mentoring around the 5 principles of democratic design and how they can use those ideas and IKEA's experts to turn these ideas into prototypes. And that's the next step to hopefully reality someday.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, give him a big applause. Jonathan Spampinato, Corinne Gray.
Thank you,
Thank you a
Dagan.
lot.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Joel, how you doing?
All right, so the last person we need today on stage, closing the conference, is the Oracle himself, the initiator. Give him a big applause, Richard van der Laken.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will keep it very